So I'm going to get ready to start because we had an appointment at 12 o'clock. And Jim, what time is it?
It's 12 o'clock.
So I want someone on this phone call to guess who our guest is for the day. You don't have one.
Kate Miner.
You have several guests today. Guys, it's your team leaders. I thought it'd be really cool because your team leaders are my heroes. I thought it would be cool to recognize them and just have a conversation with them and just hear that conversation evolve with your team leaders, because there's so many things that they do and so many things that's expected of them. I've got a question. So I don't want to repeat what it says. I love how you said that, your in-laws, mine. Yeah, so Myra, we'd love to see your beautiful face, Myra. Don't put the glamour picture on. Just show us the glamour person. We just want to see you. That's all that matters. So guys, so I just like to, why don't we spend 30 seconds each and just introduce yourselves, who you are and what market center you're a team leader for. Start with you, Sherry.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to mute my other computer. Hold on one second.
Okay, well, why don't we start with Kate?
Perfect, thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I am Kate Miner. I am the team leader at the Clearmount Market Center. Been a team leader, so this is my 4th year, and been with KW 8 years.
Congratulations. How about you, Jim?
So I'm Jim Hand. I'm the team leader for the Spring Hill Market Center. I've been with KW for 6.5 years and the team leader for 6.5 years in the same market center.
You came in as a team.
Came in as a team leader, that's correct, yes. Yep.
Sherry?
Hi, I'm Sherry Orndorff. I'm the team leader in Inverness, Citrus County. I have been with the company with Keller Williams for 9 months and the team leader for 9 months.
Beautiful. And I'd love Amy to introduce herself. She's the newest team leader to be.
Hi. Yeah, thanks, Rich. Amy Darlene. I'm currently out of the Dr. Phillips office, but I'm moving over to be a team leader at Mount Dora. So really excited about that opportunity. Single agent with Keller Williams for about 1.5 years.
Love that. Love that. Guys, you've got a lot of experience in leadership there. So why doesn't any one of you tell them, how often do we do a Zoom call?
Every day.
Every day. Guys, great leaders communicate. And I'm just role modeling for you everything I've been taught from Keller Williams. You know, the 12 years I've been with Keller Williams, I've learned more in 12 years than I did 48 years before Keller Williams. This has nothing to do with real estate. This has to do with leadership. And great leaders communicate at a very high level. So this is what we do, and this is what your team leaders do. So anybody could start off. I want to talk about, so what do you think the agent should be doing right now, Sherry? What if you were in production, if you weren't a team leader, what would you be doing?
Well, I'd be on the phone and on Zoom as much as possible. So literally I would be calling all of my database, making those care calls using the 3 C's. Care, compassion, and common sense, and just asking them how are they. It's the easiest conversations you can have, and then learning all of the things I haven't had time to do in the past.
Absolutely. How about you, Jim?
So I think it would be important first to get clarity on where I want to be when this is all done and where I'd like my business to go, and then sit back and just do a kind of a self-assessment on where I'm strong at, where the opportunities are at. Wherever we're in a shifting market like this, there's always opportunities that come from the shifting market, so we have to get clarity on just what are those individual opportunities. And I really don't think we have to overcomplicate this. I think it's just get back to the basics. The things that work in a non-shifting market: building your database, feeding your database, communicating with your database in a systematic fashion. If we just do those 3 things, we'll be able to have enough market share coming out of this that we can service those leads. So I think it's get clarity on where I want to be, and then figure out what's the best pathway to get there and where my strengths and opportunities are to get there.
I love that. I love that you gave examples of what those opportunities may be. So great job. Kate?
Yeah, it's 100% providing value. Whatever your clients need, just being a sounding board for them, giving them daily updates and information about the market, what's happening, anything that they, maybe they need some toilet paper. You're the toilet delivery person. And I think that it's going to allow you to show up in a space and and be relevant for, you know, I've heard someone say the conversations that you're having with people today are going to be their conversations that they're having about you in the future. And I think that's the huge opportunity, is where are you demonstrating value to your people? And I think the other part too is just adjusting to a new schedule, setting yourself up for success, because it's very easy that before we used to have an environment that supported our goals, and now all of us have an environment that's most likely a distraction from our goals. And so I think that that's a huge opportunity, is you want to make sure that your environment is still supporting your goals.
Yeah, I think that without a doubt, I agree. Distraction from your goals. How many people, when this first happened, this stuff came out in December in China, right? By January, we're starting to see it on the news just a little bit. We didn't think anything of it. And then when it started hitting home in the United States, that's when it became a distraction. And now can we agree, when you turn on the television, the first thing you see is either COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever. It is a total distraction from what we intended for 2020. Absolutely. So I want to go back and just go through second round. We could start with Kate. Is just what is the difference? Well, and I don't know if you in real estate, you weren't in the team leader role for the last shift, but you've been around enough leadership training to know some of the differences. How is this shift different than the first one?
Yeah, well, it's not a housing market shift. You know, in 2008, it was, you know, the mortgage industry is basically what caused our shift. So it was internal within our industry. This is something completely outside coming in and invading our world and our new norm. So I think that it's very, very different in the ways that, you know, appraisals are still coming in very strong. Home prices are still pretty steady. Interest rates are still pretty steady. We haven't seen a lot of adjustment within our industry. Everything is an external force. So it's making sure buyers are still pre-qualified. It's making sure that we're partnered with the right title companies that can do drive-through mobile closings. I think that's the way that it's changing for us. It's not that it's, oh my gosh, we have this foreclosure, you know, bankruptcy, REO market. It's very, very different in that the way that we're conducting business is what's changing.
Absolutely. Jim, you want to go?
So I think it's hitting everyone differently this time. I think it's having an impact on everyone's life in a little bit of a different manner. So as Kate was talking to earlier, and you had someone on one of these calls where they were talking about not being a real estate agent, not being a realtor, but being a resource now, and identifying who's in your database and what's the best resource you can bring to that one individual person. It may not be the same for everyone. And just building and strengthening that relationship, I think, is one of the big differences from the shifts that we've seen in the past. It's different for everybody.
Yeah, and being a resource, I think that's a great point, Jim, because I've seen on Facebook, I'm not in the Orlando area, there's agents that are going out with care packages to everybody in their database.
Right.
That means they're buying cases and cases of toilet paper, paper towels, water. They're putting care packages together. They're going door to door, and they're dropping off a care package for everybody. You are in my database with a little love note, just thinking about you. Here are some essentials. If there's anything else you need, please call me. Mm-hmm. Guys, now that's going above and beyond. That's being a servant leader, right? Now, is that a nuisance to drop off when we're experiencing social distancing and maybe you're talking about 250 people? Well, you know what? Here's what it says. And this is a question I discuss with leadership all the time. There are 3 questions that everybody has when they first meet you that they don't articulate. And the first one is, what is that, Jim?
The first one is, do I know them and they're not popping up there. Do I care about you?
Right.
Or
first
yes, do I care about you?
Care about me,
right.
Right. So when you do just a pop by, I don't like to use the word drive by. That sounds like very, very Los Angeles. We're going to talk pop by in real estate, right? So when you pop by and drop off a goodie bag of essentials in a time of challenge and crisis like this, we're answering that first question.
Right.
Obviously, we care about the person, so that's really big. Love
right.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that. I knew you knew the answer.
No, that's all right. No, I know. It just took a minute to come out there. I've got too many M&Ms in me.
For those of you who don't know, Jim loves M&Ms. If you're in the Spring Hill office, please bring him a bag of M&Ms. Make sure they're all red. He loves red M&Ms.
I have them all day. Yes.
Sherry, how about you? You actually in real estate for 20 years, even though you're only 29 years old. You've got 20 years experience in the industry. How is this different, this shift that we experienced from the last time?
Well, you're right. I do have 20 years of experience, which makes me feel really old. However,
How about knowledgeable, never old?
old and knowledgeable, but I don't care. So it's all good. But you know, the difference is that we're having to think outside the box, which is what you had to do before. So back in the shift before, we had to go back to the basics and learn how to go back out and communicate with the customers that we had in our database and everybody. Now we just have to think about it a little different in how we're going to make that happen. A lot of the agents are being more resourceful and being there for the customers. So, you know, I see that there are still buyers and sellers out there. They're just more serious right now. So you've got the serious buyers out there. They're going to continue to work. You know, we're lucky that we're allowed to go out and show homes and do listings. Agents are learning how to do it virtually, digitally, and it's I'm seeing a lot of creativity coming from people thinking outside the box, but it really truly does go right back to the basics with reaching out to your database and keeping in touch with anybody and everybody that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So how are you dealing? Are you getting, guys, are you getting a lot of Zoom calls? How many have you been on so far today, Sherry?
This is my third.
Dave, how about you? How many have you been on?
This is my my fourth one today so far.
Kate,
Fifth.
you've been on 5 already. So agents, are you feeling the same stress of you're being pulled in 10 different directions on top of homeschooling your children if you have kids at home, which is something we weren't prepared to do, right? And then that's bringing, hopefully that bond between you and your kids much closer if your kids are little. So let's start with you, Sherry. How are you dealing with being pulled? How do you master your schedule?
Time blocking. The time blocking is really important right now, and trying to stick to that time. Sometimes I get on calls and they just go longer than you expect. But yeah, I personally have to learn how to cut those off in a nice way and say, you know, I've got another call, I've got to go. But it's truly time blocking. My schedule, my book is, you know, yellowed. I don't know if you can see it, but there's writing all over it. And just sticking to my time frames, trying to get everything accomplished. I'm working longer hours. And
Say that one more time, Sherry.
I'm working longer hours. But you know, I don't have children to homeschool. So you guys, kudos to you who are out there doing that, because I don't know how you're doing it, but you're getting it done, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely. And one of the conversations we had this morning on our leadership call is we have several of our leaders who are homeschooling, Kate and Bethany, a couple of the other ones. And how's that going? I mean, we were never trained to be you're a parent, right? We're parents first. We're moms and dads. Mm-hmm. So kudos to all of you. And basically, it's like you have to pick and choose your battles, guys. You can't go to war with your kids over the silly things anymore, because you're going to see them. You're going to see them till they go to bed. You don't even get a break at this point. So love that. So Jim, what are you doing? How are you dealing with all the training and being pulled? You know, I'm asking you to be on leadership calls, on training. Georgia Alpazar, regional directors, your agents, team meetings. How are you dealing?
Right. So we still have to stay focused on what our big rocks are. And those big rocks still have to get accomplished. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get where we want to go on a per level or on a business level. We still have to maintain what our focus is and where do we want to be when this is all done, and stay focused on that. And as Sherry mentioned, we may have to do that at different times of the day than what we've done in the past. We have to be clear on what needs to get accomplished, and then we have to be very clear on when are we going to get that accomplished and build those bunkers around us. So when we first started in this, I was attempting to do this in a different part of the house, and it wasn't working. There was too many distractions that were coming in, and I had to go find a place in the house that I can just kind of separate myself. Now I'm in a position to where I do not have kids at home, so that's not something that's in front of me. So it's a little easier for me, but it's just, I think, maintaining your focus on this is where we're going. I need to make sure that I'm time blocking the time necessary to do the core activities that will help me get to where I'm at, and getting creative on when I find those times.
Absolutely. So Kate, same question. How are you dealing with all the training and being pulled in different directions?
Yeah, I think you just have to find what works for you. And I'm with Sherry, you know, like I'm, instead of, you know, leaving the office or clocking out at like 4:30, 5 o'clock, it's now 6 or 7. And that's because I'm taking more time during the day to deal with my 5-year-old. And I'm adjusting. You've got to go with the flow. We had Oreos for breakfast this morning, and that's a thing that's happening in my house is cookies are for breakfast. And you know, I'm okay with it. I don't feel guilty about it because I get to have breakfast with my 5-year-old. And if it's Oreos, that's just one heck of a way to start a Tuesday. So I've kind of made peace with those little things. Whereas before I would be like, oh my God, Oreos for breakfast. Like,
Yeah.
vegetables. And, you know, I would have that inner voice saying I'm a terrible mom because I'm just throwing cookies at my kid and going to a Zoom call. And I just changed my perspective around it as I get to have breakfast with my kid and I normally don't. So I'm just adjusting that way and finding out what works for me. And if it is, you know, taking a couple hours here and there in the middle of the day, means I'm working until 6 or 7, then I'm okay with that.
So is there any book that you could recommend that can help them figure it out that may be able to, you could recommend?
Of course, I would love to recommend the book Figure It Out, which you can find on Amazon. But another really good one's also The One Thing. It's all about prioritizing right now. Priorities are what trumps everything. And
So for those of you who don't know, Kate just published her first book about 6 months ago, and the title is?
Figure It Out.
Guys, you just have to figure this out, this time crunch thing. Kate's the author of the book. So we're blessed to be in business with people that actually write books and lead offices, things of that nature. I'm really proud of her. So guys, this is something we just have to do. We just have to figure things out. And I'm going to say I'm sure there's chapters and verses you can quote from the book since you authored it and wrote it from The One Thing. Guys, this is a time we need to master the one thing. I would go back and reread and just continue to read the book because time management is the most important thing. And it's going to take discipline in a coach. Guys, we all have coaches. I have the team leaders report to me every single day how many phone calls, how many contacts, conversations, appointments, every single day, and usually between about 5:30, 6 o'clock. If you don't, yeah, Kate.
Can I just say something about that? If you want to level up your business, get accountability to walk in your world.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you will see results show up is if you increase the accountability around them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Because Kate, did I send you a text last night at 6:30?
I think it was 7:08, and yes, you did.
Because you forgot to send your numbers.
I just have to say one thing about that text, Rich. You have to make that text. If you're going to do it, you need to do it a little later because I'm still making calls at 7 o'clock at night.
So here's my suggestion or tidbit with that. So send me at 5:01, and if you're still working, whatever calls you make at 5:02 or later, go on the next day's numbers.
Oh, that's a good idea.
You know, I'm just going to say this because maybe we haven't heard it before. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at, it's just a different perspective. Kate just spoke about it with the cookies and Logan, her daughter, right? We have to change our perspective, guys. There's always another perspective will have us see things differently and say, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? Well, we always have. We just didn't acknowledge it, right? So
there you go.
Great point. So, and again, I've got another Zoom call coming up. So if you know, within 2 minutes or so, Sherry, to just summarize, what do you want the agents to know? What should they be doing? What advice do you want to give to everybody on the call?
I just would love for the agents to know that we are here for them personally and care if they're okay and their families are okay. I want them to know that it's okay to call if you're just having a bad day and you need a pickup call, if that's not a day that we reach out to you. And, you know, really, truly just make those care calls to your customers, to your family, and solidify those relationships. I saw Kim posted, you know, that you need to just make sure, and I can't remember the word she used because my mind is blank, but to make sure that you are getting your contracts and your communications, your relationships solid, and just reach out there and and do it. If you need help, if you need somebody to give you some different ideas, pick up the phone and call.
Jim, how about you? And you're getting some
So,
gratitude coming your way, some love and attention. It says, I want to show my
so I-
gratitude to Jim. He's an incredible leader, and I'm grateful for what he does for all of us.
awesome. Ashley, I'll pay you later. Thank you. All right. So, I've got two thoughts. One, Rich, you've been doing these calls now for how many weeks? It's been a couple weeks now.
5 weeks.
Almost every guest that you've had on here has said basically the same thing. They've just used different words to do it. And it's all coming from contribution, reaching out to your database, making these care calls, and everything else will take care of itself. So I think if that's the biggest thing we take away from this time is that we get hyper-focused on our database and coming from contribution and being that resource, as Kate talked about. And this is not the time to hit the snooze button on your business. This is the time to double down and take advantage of some of the opportunities that we do have in front of us to go out there and grab mind share so that you can have the market share later. And as you come out of this, that you've got the life that you want to have in the business that you want to have. So I think that's
And I love the way you brought mind share and market share in here, because that's something I heard James say on one of his shift calls is today's mind share leads to tomorrow's market share. And I think that should be a bold law, or that should be coined, and that phrase should be, that's just brilliant. When I heard James say that, now you just said it again. So again, you may want to write that down because it is great. Today's mind share leads to tomorrow's market share.
Yep.
Love that. So Kate, same question.
Yeah, find your voice in this opportunity. Things that you've been waiting to do, things you contemplated about initiating in your business, don't hesitate. The worst thing you could do is not act. So as long as you are making action and being on the front line in your business is where you need to be right now. Everyone's called the front line. And if you can step into that space, I think that it's going to pay off dividends. I think this is a wild card season, and no rules. Like, this is where new agents can catch up to top producers overnight. And it's all around what you're willing to do and step up to the plate for. So take that opportunity, seize it with both hands.
I love the way you said, seize your voice, find your voice. And guys, you're 100% right, Kate. If we don't take action, that is an action. That's not a good action to take. You're either the guy that's got the tighty whities on the side of the football game, which means you never got any play time, commonly known as you're the water boy, right? Or you're the guy that's got blood on their back, grass in their helmet, stains everywhere. You need to roll up, guys, more now than ever. We need to roll up our sleeves and get in the game.
Get dirty.
Just get in the game. Just be genuine and real, and just call everybody you know in your cell phone and tell them you care about them. So Amy, I'm going to put you on the spot and bring you in, since you are the newest team leader, assistant team leader in training. What advice do you want to give everybody? How do you want to, what message well, let me better question. What are you doing right now, other than the calls you're on, our leadership calls, you're on these calls at 12 o'clock? What are you doing as an agent now to bridge the time until we get out of this quarantine state and we can start training you in leadership?
Yeah. So I've been doing care calls, and I've definitely been rounding back on people that I haven't been in touch with for a long time. And I kind of have a thing in our family that there are people that are easy to love and hard to love. And you may not want to call the hard to love people right now, but that's who really needs to hear from you. And so during Easter week, I decided I was going to call some people that are harder for me to love. And that was really great. I actually, all the conversations were good, and it wasn't easy, but it was definitely worthwhile. And I had some people call me back and the next day and just say, thanks for calling. That meant a lot that you called and you wanted to know how I'm doing. So that's been one thing I've been up to. The other thing we've been up to, our kids are grown and they're young adults. So we have 5 adults in our household. 3 of us are working and 2 of us are furloughed right now because they're Disney folks. And but the other thing we're trying to do, and talking about your schedule, I love how everybody is talking about focusing your schedule. I just want to reiterate all that, but that's already been said. the other piece of that is finding things to look forward to at home, whether it's what you're having for dinner or, you know, and maybe if your calls are running late or however that's working for you, that's okay because you're not going anywhere. But, you know, we do make, you know, we used to have like dog date night with some friends once a week. We do that via FaceTime now. You know, don't give up the things that have been important to you in connecting with people, you know, so it's either, you know, we play a game, we're having this for dinner, we're connecting with these people, we're having game, you know, we've had Zoom game nights with friends, and that's been fun too. So just keep reaching out, you know, stay connected, and yeah. And there are a lot of people I've learned too. I'm not dying to get back out there and see everyone and do everything, but there are a lot of people who are really antsy and need that face-to-face, and that's a real struggle for them right now. And we just, you know, those are the people we need to reach even more. Yeah.
Yeah, I love your advice, Amy. And again, I'm not, anybody really have anybody that they don't really want to call in their database? We all do.
Yeah.
There's always a friend or family member like, oh, I haven't spoken to them in 10 years. What do I say? That now more than ever, pick up the phone and just say, I always tell everybody it's a one-word script. Just say hello. That's it.
Yeah.
Just start with hello, one word. If you can memorize that, you can make the call. You could do it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So guys, this is your time for Q&A. What questions do you have, and specifically for who? For which person do you have a question? I'd like to open this up. Guys, this is your opportunity, as Kate would say, to find your voice.
Yeah, I've got a question for Kate. Kate, where do I find a copy of your book?
It's on Amazon.
Is it? Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Back in,
And so we're dealing, these aren't fly-by-night authors. These are real authors, guys.
Very cool. Thank you.
The link is also in the chat group.
Is it? I should learn to look at that chat, shouldn't I?
Yeah, Chad.
There you go.
Thank you, Chad.
There it is. Oh, thanks, Chad. Excellent. Great. Thank you.
You thought she was just pulling your leg, Jim.
No, I knew it was real.
There you go. There you go. Does anybody else have any questions? So guys, before we wrap up, here's what I've got somebody saying something in the chat box. Hold on. There's 2 new messages. Super grateful for all of you. Thank you, Myra. We love you too. Kate, I've had an opportunity to read your book that I bought 2 months ago. She loved it. So fantastic. So tomorrow we have Dusty, our speaker. He's another Bolt coach. He's a mega agent that's still active in Texas. He will be your guest speaker tomorrow. On Thursday, we have Matt Perry. He's a mega agent, does over 200 units a year in OP of several market centers in the Carolinas. And on Friday, we have the Lokins, Lance Carina on Friday. So that'll round out the rest of the week for you. I've gotten somebody on Monday of next week. I've got Denny Grimes, mega agent in Naples, Florida, in Alaska, and Bolt coach. So he's got teams all over the place, and he's also a Bolt coach. So I'm getting any questions. You guys be prepared. Have questions when you know who the guest speakers are. I'm telling you well in advance. So prepare some questions. I appreciate each and every one of you, and stay safe. And make sure you stretch and exercise. Otherwise, you get Zoom butt, right? Sit in the chair too long, you get Zoom butt. We got to get past that. So I love you guys. Take care, everyone.
See you
Bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.